Welcome to Abstract Essay. I'm your host, Daniel Likis, and today we have a special guest. He's a business consulting service for growth and, of course, certified exit planning advisor and a Duke MBA. Not the fan, Mr. Thomas Addison.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, Mr. Thomas, on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. Yes, I am a certified exit planning advisor, and I got into that after owning a few businesses myself and exiting and finding the challenge that people have. So I apply my expertise and experience in owning small business, but also my 20 plus years of working in technology, where I work with businesses to make sure they have good systems in place, good processes and procedures, and get them ready for the eventual exit. Because oftentimes, if you don't prep the business appropriately, it's difficult to transfer the business to the next owner. We all know that probably 75% of businesses don't actually sell when they go on the market because they're just not ready to transfer it to another owner, whether there's owner dependency. There could be a lack of processes. It could be a lack of procedures that are documented. Many things are and just impede the transfer, and so therefore they can't be sold, and they end up just closing, and that's detrimental to the founder of the business. It's detrimental to the employees, and it's detrimental to the community. So I work with people to try to avoid that.
Well said, Mr. Thomas. And here on Abstract Essay, we salute you, we celebrate you
Thank you.
for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to us as well as to the world. And today, let's talk about the hats that we mentioned a while ago. Mr. Thomas, you lost 1.5 or $1.55 million on a business reentry that looked perfect on paper. Walk
Mhm.
me inside that moment. What did get wrong, and when did you realize the deal was going south?
Yeah. So what I got wrong was trying to do too much myself. I did not have a good team surrounding me. So when I talk to folks, I make sure you have a good team of people who can help you vet an opportunity and also help you put the right things in place to be successful. I tried to, as I said, I tried to do that myself. I took on too much. And about 6 months into the opportunity, I knew something was wrong and off, and there were several things that I missed because by 6 months now, I kind of knew the business and I knew what was going on. And it took me about another year or so before I got to the point where I just could not recover. And I could not meet the payroll. I couldn't meet the payments to the bank. All different things happened. So, yeah, it went south. I had to close the doors. I tried to pay off everybody I could, but most of them I did not. And that's where that big loss came in.
Mr. Thomas, after the loss, you turn around and successfully bought a garage door company,
Hmm.
sold it, executed, and two times exit on sandwich franchise, and built a federal contracting business. What was the single most important lesson from the 1.55 million failure that made those wins possible?
Yeah, the big thing was getting a team. Don't do it alone. Surround yourself with people who have done some of the things you're trying to accomplish. And also, I had to take time and really look inside myself and see where I had shortcomings, where I could not fill certain gaps. And I found other people that could help me fill those gaps. And I applied that to my next transactions, and those were much more successful.
Well said, Mr. Thomas. You said most technology consultants recommend software they were never actually used to run a business. Why is it so common, and why does your approach is as an operator turn advisor fundamentally differ?
Yeah, well, it's money, it's incentive. The
Mm.
salespeople get paid for selling software, and that's what they do. They're very good at it, and they're very good at positioning things. And most people don't fully understand what they're buying because it's not their job, right? It's not what they do. It's not the core to their business. And many times folks will come in and they have a software package, and it doesn't matter who the organization is, they're going to find some way to say that this software package fits this organization, even if it doesn't. And I start off with, let's define what you're currently doing, what makes success, where are your people in terms of their capabilities, and then let's apply software that makes sense to your business, because not every business needs a lot of software. We all need some, but many businesses don't need the kind of stacks that people are buying. So they're spending money on things that they just don't need. And even if they have the right tools, oftentimes they're just not optimized for your business. So they're not set up properly. So your employees and your team just cannot use it. And that's detrimental to your customers, it's detrimental to your suppliers, your partners. So we want to make sure that you have the right technology doing the right job for you.
Mr. Thomas, you build a commercial VCP repair company that runs without you
Hmm.
deliberately. What's the
Hmm.
first thing an owner needs to accept about themselves to build business that does not depend on them?
The first thing is to understand that you are not the business. You're not defined by the business. The business needs to be a separate entity from you. You can own and manage and run it, or but you don't. It doesn't define you. And then when you decide to set it up, you need to understand exactly what it takes to get clients, what it takes to interact with those clients, what it takes to service them, and what it takes to collect and pay your bills. And as much as you can automate, as much as you can put people in places where are necessary to do certain activities, that relieves you so that you're not tied to the business. That also is part of the strategy for making the business sellable. Because if you can set up a business that doesn't require you to be there every day, that is a very, very attractive business to any buyer. So that's exactly why I set it up that way.
You're a certified exit planning advisor. When should an owner start thinking about their exit, and what's the most common answer they hear that's dangerously wrong?
Yeah. So they should start planning early. And I tell folks all the time, when private equity organizations look at businesses, they already know what the exit is before they buy the business. Most owners will start a business because they have a certain skill, they have a certain hobby, and they just run the business and it grows and it takes off. And then suddenly they've got this big business and they're thinking, oh, wow, I can cash out. And they don't realize they haven't put the processes and procedures in place that will allow them to sell it. And so they need to start early. Most of them are not going to start it before they start the business, and it's not necessarily started at that point. But realize any changes that we would implement to make your business more attractive take time, 3 to 5 years in some cases, to actually have an impact. So if you are planning something and you've got 3 to 5 years, then there's probably some things we can do to improve the business. But if you come to me and say, "Hey, I need to be out of this business in the next 6 months," that's more like a fire sale. And if the business isn't already set up properly, then you're not going to get the most attractive valuation on that business. And therefore, you're not going to get the kind of funds you need. And see, for most business owners, 70 to 90% of their wealth is tied up in their business. And because there's so much wealth tied up in your business, and it's wealth that you cannot easily monetize because there's not an open market for mid market businesses. It's just not. You have to have a very attractive business. That's why, 75% of them just don't sell because they're not set up properly. So the sooner you do that, because if you set it up properly for exiting, you are actually setting up a more efficient business, and that can help you with your profitability, your customer service, your employees' morale. All those things come into play.
Well said, Mr. Thomas. You talk about a parameter framework
Hmm.
that reveals what driving and dragging a business valuation. Without giving away the secret sauce, what is the one parameter owner consistently overlook?
It's the dependency is the big one. The dependency because if they're the founder of the business, or even if they've purchased a business and they're running it, if they haven't found out how to delegate, how to put good management teams in place, people who can do all the activities. I often hear from people, I'm the best salesperson in the company. Well, that's not a good a thing if you're the best salesperson, because if you leave, then the business will probably not do well. So they need to understand that the business needs to be self-sufficient as much as possible. And it doesn't mean you walk away and don't ever touch the business, but it means that, you know what, I can take a 90-day vacation. When I come back, the business will be in is the same or better shape than when I left. If you can do that, then you have a very efficient running business.
Well said again, Mr. Thomas. AI is the buzzword of the decade. A small business owner comes to you and says, I know AI is changing everything, but I don't know where to start. What is your honest, no hype answer?
Mm. I would say don't start with AI. Start with your understanding your business and your processes, and then what it is you need AI to do. Because if you start with AI, you will be overwhelmed. Because you're right, it is the buzzword of the day. It's in everything. Um, eh, I mean, people are trying to put AI into selling sodas. I mean, it's like, it could all come up with all kind of reasons as to why AI is the better fit for my product, and it doesn't fit everywhere. And oftentimes, people will implement it and realize, even some of the companies in California and Silicon Valley are finding out that the AI is more costly than having a person do certain activities, and because of that, they're actually going back the other way. They're taking AI where they put it in, they're taking it out now, because they found out that a person was better suited to do that job or that activity more so than the artificial intelligence. So I would tell the folks, if you're thinking about AI, let's not talk technology yet. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish. And let's talk about what AI could actually do to enhance you and make you more efficient, not necessarily putting AI in just because it's the buzzword.
Mm, certainly. You describe AI operating systems as replacing manual COO level functions.
Hmm.
What does that actually look like in a real business? Can you give us a concrete example of a decision that used to require a human and now does not?
Yes, I can give you a clear example. If we think about a CRM, which is a customer relationship management system, that is where you store all your customer information. So it has things like how to contact that customer, what they've bought from you in the past, how you serviced them in the past, when was the last time you sent emails or communicated with them. All that information is inside of a customer relationship manager. The AI can read through all of your customer sets, however many customers you have, and can decide which customers need to be contacted because it's been several months since you last contacted them. Their buying cycle is changing because the AI can actually analyze that. They can determine how much money they spent with you the previous year. Are you on track to spend that kind of money this year from that same customer? It can analyze all that, and they can give you reports, so somebody doesn't have to go in and manually do that. Now, that doesn't necessarily require AI, because automation works as well, and many CRM systems can be set up to automate that. But AI, I think, goes a little bit deeper because it does an analysis more so than just reporting. So you don't just get a report out, you actually get an analysis. And at that point, the artificial intelligence can actually act on your behalf if you so choose. It can send out reminders to customers. It can do all kinds of things that the human doesn't have to be in there. I prefer to have the human in the loop as a checkpoint, but at some level, once it's proven that it's going to give the kind of results you're expecting, then at that point you can step back and just let the AI run.
Mr. Thomas, a business is a war without bullets. That's one of your episode title ideas. What do you mean by that, and how does that mindset shape your approach to strategy?
Yes, thank you for that. That's actually a quote from Phil Knight. I read his book
Mhm.
Shoe Dog, and he talks about that because you are in a constant battle when you're in business. You're in battle with um, other businesses. You're in battle with suppliers. You're in battle with employees, with banks, with lawyers. I mean, it's just all these folks are constantly coming after you. I get calls several times a day with somebody who's got something to sell me. Even I didn't even request it. They're just reaching out, and I understand that's their job. That's their job as a salesperson to reach out, but that becomes a distraction and that becomes another battlefront for you. So when I say it's war without bullets, you are at war. You are at war and you need to protect yourself. You need to have a defense, you need to have an offense, you need to have a strategy, you need to have a plan. And the better you do all of that, the more likely you'll be successful.
You hold a Duke MBA, a CISSP, and the SEPA designation, a rare combination of business, technology, and exit planning expertise. How
Mhm.
does those three lenses work together when you walk into a client engagement?
Yes. So doing exit planning is a team sport. So you need someone who has expertise in a lot of different areas. You need someone who understands wealth building and wealth management. You need CPAs, you need lawyers, you need people who can advise on the operations of the business, and you need someone who understands the technology. I focus primarily on the technology and the operations, and I allow and bring in other people who have expertise in those other areas that I don't have expertise. Now, I try to be the quarterback so that the owner doesn't have to go get all these different players and pull them in. I know where people fit, so I will pull them in as necessary to have the conversations. Um, what makes me unique is the fact that I have spent time enhancing businesses using technology. And that expertise started when I was at Booz Allen in Hamilton several years ago as a consultant, and it's continued out through most of my career. I have worked on small businesses. I've worked on Fortune 100 businesses. I've worked on some of the largest banks in the world. I've done a lot of things when it comes to applying technology to success.
Well said, Mr. Thomas. You've been on recovery side of the transaction table,
Mhm.
buyer, seller, operator, advisor. What's something seller consistently misunderstand about what buyers are really looking for?
Yeah, many sellers miss the fact that everybody seems to think their business is worth $10 million. It's like, no, no, just because you want 10 million doesn't mean your business is worth 10 million. So we need to set that straight. How does a buyer look at the business as opposed to how you look at it? You look at the 20 years that you spent building the business. A buyer is looking at the next 20 years. Can they replicate what you've done and actually improve upon it and grow? So they want to know, can I grow this business? Is this revenue transferable? If you leave, are all the customers going to leave? There's many things that our buyers are looking at that sellers don't even think about, because for them it's just, yeah, my business is great. I'm making money. I'm doing what I want to do. I can pay for my family's activities, all these things. Well, that's not what a buyer is buying. A buyer is saying, can I replicate what you have done? And that's why it's very difficult, because if I can't replicate what you have done, the business is not valuable to me. So I need to make sure that I can replicate what you have done and have similar or better success than what you have. That makes the business valuable to me as a buyer.
Your federal contracting company has a DSA schedule and SDVOSB designation. What did navigating the world tech you about building systems and process that translated to your commercial ventures?
Yes. So the world taught me about systems and how systems and processes and procedures can enhance your business. There's a book called The E Myth. It's
Mhm.
written by Gerber. It's a very famous book. And he talks about putting processes and procedures documented. And he does that because he gives an analogy. If you think about a franchise, with a franchise you're giving an operations manual, and that operations manual gives you everything, every procedure process that you need to follow to be successful, to replicate what has been done at all the other franchises. You need to have that mindset in thinking when you're working on your business. So I take that mindset and says, how do I make sure we have standardized procedures, standardized processes, and the best thing would be to document each one of those, and then I can hand that playbook to the next person. That would enhance. And for me, you talk about the GSA schedule. I actually had to get some help with that. That was a lot of work to pull that together. I got some help with that. The service disabled veteran part that you also referenced, that is, I was a vet. I am a veteran. I was in the military, and unfortunately, there was an incident. So I was injured, and that gave me that service disabled veteran status. And that puts me in a different category when I'm doing contracting with the government.
You offer a no pitch, honest conversation about where technology can actually move the needle, Mr. Thomas. What common situation where you tell about business owner technology is not your real problem right now?
Mm. Yes, some will come in, and as we were talking about AI earlier, they'll come in and they've on a plane and they read some magazine and they heard about some new technology and they're thinking, "Wow, if I implement this, I can have success just like this organization." Well, that's not necessarily true, because there's a lot of things that go into what made that organization successful, and it wasn't just buying a piece of technology. There was something else in there. We talk about people, processes, technology, and infrastructure. You have to have the right people, the right processes, then the right technology, and the infrastructure is where they're located. Do the people work in an office? Do they work from home? Are they on the road? Where you have to make sure that the technology supports those people and processes in whatever infrastructure they're in. So you have to look at all of that. And when you pull all those pieces together, not every piece of technology is appropriate. Case in point, if all of my employees are on the road all the time and I buy a bunch of desktop computers, they're useless. I can't use a desktop computer when I'm on the road. So I need to and I need to have access to the tools. If I put in a local server for people to access all of the databases, and once again they're on the road, they can't get to it. So then we talk about, do I look at a cloud solution? Do I, all these different things, and then how do I make sure that the tools are useful, not just tools? And so there's a lot of pieces that come into that. So when I sit down with owners or potential clients, I tell them, yes, we can talk about technology, but first I need to understand what you're trying to accomplish with your business. I need to understand a little bit about your people, your processes. And once I pull all that together, then we can talk tech.
Well said, well said. Mr. Thomas, you clearly someone who learns from books as well as experience. What is one book you're reading right now? What is shaping how you think about business or life and why?
Mm. There's a book by Ethan Malik that I'm reading. It's called Coexist.
Mm.
And that book is talking about how do we as humans coexist with artificial intelligence, and how is the right way to interact with artificial intelligence and use it. It's a book I would highly recommend. Ethan is a professor at the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania, and he's a very well-spoken person on artificial intelligence. In his class, he requires his students to use artificial intelligence, and he is a big advocate of figuring out how to use it properly in a business setting. So that's a book I would recommend if anybody would want to read it.
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Thomas. And to wrap up our discussion for today, how long should an owner realistically plan for operational improvements to meaningfully affect valuations? And what is the minimum runaway you recommend before a sale?
Hmm. Yes, I would tell them that expect it to take at least 2 to 3 years at a minimum before you're going to see operational impact and valuation change. It can take as much as 5 or more years, depending upon where you're starting from. And so, the sooner we can start to work and we can plan, we need at least, I would say, 3 years to plan for your exit to have a meaningful impact on the valuation. If we don't have the 3 years, if it's some health reason or some impact to the family and you need to move quickly, we're going to have to go with what the evaluation is at that point. And the reason why the valuation is so important, I said it earlier, is when you have 70 to 90% of your wealth tied into that business, when you sell that business, you need to live off of the proceeds of that business for the rest of your life. So you need to make sure you get enough out of that sale that will support your family in the lifestyle you want.
Indeed. Mr. Thomas, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Abstract Essay?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so they can go to my website you have up here. It's addisonsa.com. And there's a couple of things they can do there. They can schedule a meeting with me. I do a 30-minute consult, no cost, just to talk about them and their business and what they're doing. And they can email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn quite often. I do posts there. They can follow me and get information I share freely about what's going on with technology and how it's supporting businesses. And I welcome the opportunity to talk with any of your listeners. Thank you for having me.
Yes, definitely. People, let's support and connect with Mr. Thomas. And I have one more question before I will let you go. You've rebuilt after a spectacular loss, built multiple successful exits, and now run a business that does not need you. When you look at your own journey, what is your why now, and how is it changed from when you first started?
Mhm. My why now is to give as much back to my community and my family as I can. That was not the case when I was younger. Younger, I was just thinking, I'm going to make lots of money, I'm going to be rich and travel the world. Now I've done the travel, I've been lots of places, and I just realized that what's most important is connection with people. It's those you surround yourself with and the blessings that you can put into others.
Well, Mr. Thomas Addison, thank you so much for your legacy to the world. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Welcome, people. See you soon. I will invite you again to my other podcast, Entrepreneurship 101, and let's talk about entrepreneurship mindset. Mr. Thomas.